Hey, I'm back. I forgot to post it last week, but I got it now. Hey, so I'm coming back with a speed paint of like me doing like head studies because after the semester was over, I was like really hyped to like get back to like doing fine art and portraits because like they were kind of fun, and then it just didn't happen. I'm like, oh no, I don't remember how to do a face, so let me like do quick studies here and there. It was about an hour long like study, and as you saw like a little bit ago, I have this little cranium toy thing from like an anatomical model, so I was just like going through that and using that as like reference because I just don't remember how to do a stylized like face structure anymore. So I was just like, you know what? Let me go ahead and do a couple of studies here and there. So I started like just doing observational drawings and trying to like figure out eye proportions and just where things are placed because I dead ass do not remember. And that sounds weird, right? Like, so you're like an artist and you'll learn how to do these things, but like I haven't really done like portraits in a while, like a hot ass while. And I think that's why like my final was a little bit daunting when I actually got to it because I was doing a self portrait. But like I was just looking at a picture, so I was just like, oh, I can go ahead and like look at the picture and reference points in the picture to help me. But if I were to go ahead and sit down and draw my OCs or somebody else's OC from reference, I would not be able to like do it because I just don't know how like faces work. It just sounds so weird for me to say that, but like I didn't know and I freaked out a little bit. So I just kind of like sat down and like did a brain dump of like, okay, what do I gotta reteach myself to do this summer? So I had like head studies and hand studies and feet studies are coming. I'm just gotta sit down and do them and record them. But yeah, like for the most part, I wanted to like show you guys like the process of just like me doing like an hour long study. And in a little bit, I'm gonna like put in a little bit of like real time footage of just me like working on a different pose of the skull, just to give you an idea of like how long it takes me to like draw a certain thing and how much I'm editing in speed paints in general just to make it shorter. Because otherwise, we'll be here like for like 4 hours. For the most part, because it was a short like study where I was just like present and like figuring out shape, composition, proportion mainly, because that's the thing that I really struggle just in proportions. But I think I'm slowly figuring it out. So if I were to like do more studies in the future, I'll definitely like record them and like have them just to like post stuff and show you guys like how to like do practice. Because sometimes like artists don't do this where like they sit down and actually like, you know, like study a thing to like learn about it. Like sure, it's a little boring to like sit down and let's just like study and practice and, you know, take the time to like figure out what you're doing wrong in your drawings, but it definitely helps like in going forward. So like an hour long study is not too bad, or if you want to do gesture drawings, like there's websites that time you like to emulate how like real classes work. So every now and then, or at least my plan is to sit down and like do a study and figure out, okay, like how do I become better at seeing things? Because that's essentially like, I guess the core of the exercise is like, how do I see things from the perspective that I'm looking at an object? So in this case, the skull, and how do I assimilate that information into like shapes that I can draw, or like value ranges that I can like somewhat see. So in that sense, like doing an hour long study like felt really really nice because I was like present. I was like in the moment. I was in the zone, if you could call it that way. So I was like, okay, like how do I make this like jawbone and the teeth make sense in the perspective that I'm looking at the skull? How do I make sure that I bring up a plane of the skull to the front and what it gets pushed back to the shadows? Like It's those little small choices that you gotta like figure out and make in real time when you're like working on a drawing that really helps you like figure out how do I make a piece look better, or how do I save a piece that is getting to the point where it's not working. Especially when you're alone or in a professional like setting, or just when you're not close to people, or when you don't have like someone to turn to like give you a second opinion. You gotta figure out these kind of things like on your own. So in that sense, to just like sit down and like, I guess, talking to yourself in a sense, while you're drawing will help you kind of figure out, oh, okay, like I'm doing this right, or I'm not doing this right, or I don't know about this, it looks funky, but I'm not really sure what it is. Let me try to like mess with it, fidget, see what works, what doesn't work. So in that light, I just kind of ended up like doing, I want to say like 6, 7 little like head studies of just like the cranium and like different positions to like kind of figure out or give myself an idea of like how things change in space. And granted, you guys are seeing the cranium in like a different position that I was seeing it, but that's just because this the setup that I have for my camera, so you can like look over, I guess, my shoulder, kind of as if like you were looking out over my shoulder and like watching me draw. But in general, like I feel like the study was kind of helpful in like getting me back into the mind space of like, okay, you gotta figure out how like foreshortening works, what perspective you want to do, head position, because it's easier to do like a frontal view and a profile view of like people, or even like 3/4 view with the same phase syndrome that artists get. But just like doing little studies like these where you're controlled and just kind of like trying to figure out what things you gotta work on without having to like feel the pressure of like, oh shit, this is for somebody, I gotta please somebody else, or I don't know, like it's a little like more fun to do studies like these because you're like trying to figure out how to like work things out in your sketchbook. And at the moment, like it might feel like it's like not worth showing it, but like after a while, when you get some distance from like the drawing and you go back and look at those pages, you're like, wow, like I spend time trying to like figure this out, and it's what makes my sketchbook special. Which in some senses, like doing these studies and just working out in a sketchbook like gets me really motivated because I'm halfway through my sketchbook now. Yay! So at some point I will do a sketchbook tour, my very first sketchbook tour. So in that sense, I'm excited. And with that, I'll leave you guys just like enjoy your day. I hope you guys have been good, you guys have fun doing whatever you guys are doing, and I'll be back with another speed paint, this time a digital one of like some process I was working on, a personal piece that I already posted, but that's time for another day. So with that in mind, I hope I guys see you guys next time. Be kind to yourself, be good. Bye.